Actually, it's probably not going to be quick. I wanted to jump on and connect with you about empathy. And a lot of you probably think you're not empathic. Some of you might not be sure what empathy is. And some of you really know you're empathic, but you don't perhaps feel like you've mastered it. And most people who are empathic feel like it's running them and you have no control over it. So I just want to clarify some things here for you about empathy, how to master your empathy, and how to unblock your empathy if you think that you're not. Quite a few people, you know, when I do workshops and I ask people who feels what feels like other people's energy, probably half to 2/3 of the room put their hands up, and the other half feels like they can't feel anything, and there's a lot of disassociation going on. However, I want to share with you that empathy is for everybody, every single person. If you are breathing and you have water in your body, let me know if this video is stopping, by the way. It looks like my internet's being dodgy. Let me say that again. If you are breathing and you have water in your body and you were at once upon a time a child, then you are empathic. You have the ability to be empathic. So I want to share with you about how you can use this empathy for yourself to heal, and how you can use that empathy to help heal the world, everybody in the world. And goodness knows that we need this right now. You, me, everybody. We're all in the same boat. We're all on this incredible spaceship, Mother Earth, hurtling through the universe, having incredible awakenings, revelations, devastations, incredible intensities that we're all experiencing collectively. No one is exempt from this. And how we go through that is up to us. We all have an empowered choice about how we go through that. And I want to give you some support that's going to enable you to tap in, tune in, and use and master one of your greatest powers for the highest good of you and the highest good of all beings. And we can all do this together. So let me know if this is going to be useful to you, and if you're willing to hang out for a little while and to hear more about this. Oh, that's brilliant. I'm really glad that you can see that. I keep getting these little notes that come up and say my internet is dodgy. Anyway, it's brilliant to be here with you this evening. Beautiful souls. So let's start, shall we? Where should we start? Should we start with the people that feel too empathic and you don't know how to deal with the empathy, or people who feel disconnected and don't know how to get started? I tell you what, let's start there and we'll work our way up. So at once upon a time, every single one of us was a little child. And in your body, in your water memory, in your cellular memory, in your subconscious and unconscious memory, and in your energetic soul library, you very much remember being a newborn baby. Your conscious mind might have been eclipsed and you don't remember that on a cognitive level. But there are many parts of you that still carry that memory, that embedded in you. And as a little baby in the womb, even before you were born, you were swimming, if you like, or encased in a bag of water. This is your mother's womb. And as you know, water is incredibly sensitive to vibration. You can just as much as whisper next to a body of water and you can see, physically see the ripples or the movement of the water. You make a hum and you feel the vibration through the water and you can see it. Now, if you also remember that your little baby body was roughly 95% water whilst you were in the womb and as a newborn. So if your body is 95% water, or even 90%, let's say, and you're in an embryonic sac of water, how much vibrational imprinting do you think is going to impact you, impact your cellular development, impact your mind development, your consciousness development, and impact your emotional development as you are picking up every little vibration that's happening in your mother's body. And vibrations happen through thought, whether it's conscious, subconscious, or completely unconscious, like your mum doesn't even know, like maybe she's dreaming, or it's the background stuff going on in the back of her head, stuff, background thoughts and beliefs that are running her she's not even aware of. Those are all picked up vibrationally. Every word she says, her heartbeat, the emotions that she's feeling. You know, people sometimes say, a storm in a teacup. And so you can imagine being in the womb and that being a small body of water and an emotional storm that your mother gets into, and all the emotions are flying and the words and the, everything, and the heartbeat and everything that's happening, and everything that's happening neurologically for your mother, everything that's happening, let's say in her, her nervous system, getting stressed and releasing those hormones. All of that is going into you and having an impact on you in your womb environment and upon you as a newborn baby. You are not conscious of it at that point, but it has happened. You've received that information. And as we all know now, cells contain memory and water contains memory, and the majority of your cells are water. So water contains memory. So these energetic and emotional imprints are stored in the water of your body, and you're growing in them as a baby. We are like tiny little sponges when we're babies. We are absolutely plugged into receiving. If you can think back and just remember, or even just, cognitively, this makes sense. The very first thing you ever did as a human being on this earth, in this body, was to receive a breath. You received was the very first action you took. And after receiving some breaths, you would have received touch as well. You would have received food, ideally as your mother's milk. You would have received warmth. You could give nothing to yourself. You were absolutely passive. You were absolutely innocent. And you were dependent upon receiving everything you needed to survive. So your entire mechanism is designed like a sponge to receive information in. Information through touch, through sound, through looking, through sensitivity, and through empathy. In other words, your ability to connect via feelings, in that you felt everything your mother felt when she was pregnant with you. And that's all stored inside of you. So you're already picking up every frequency that's around you, every vibration that's around you. And like a little sponge, you're sucking it into yourself and storing it inside of you. And it becomes part of who you are. It becomes part of your development, your cellular development, as well as your cognitive development and your emotional development, right? And you can imagine there's way more going on than just your mother and her environment. There's all the other factors. There's your father and just about everything else that's going on that you will absorb as a child. Now, something really important needs to happen for you, and that is that you are validated for what you see, for what you hear, for what you taste, smell, touch, connect with, empathize with, and sense on all your multifaceted sensory awarenesses. We have more than just 5 senses. In fact, I heard recently L. Ron Hubbard, I haven't read any of his stuff, by the way, but I heard a fact that L. Ron Hubbard, through the process of discovering or inventing Scientology, something like 57 different senses. And I find that fascinating. But, we have way more than 5, let's say, and empathy being one of them. So as you are, and receiving all of this information around you, and you are not being validated for what you're receiving, i.e. that it's real, that people are talking to you about feelings, that people are talking to you about what you can see just with your eyes and, you know, with your extrasensory perception as a little baby, then if it's not validated and it's not made real for you, then bit by bit by bit, that starts to retract, it starts to recede. It's like a muscle that doesn't get used, and it will start to go into decline or shut down. Also, what happens is, let's say other people around you are not talking about their emotions, especially not in a conscious, clear way, that in a way that you can understand and learn and grow within as a child, but it's very confusing language, or there is no communication. You're still going to be feeling everything that's going on, but because nobody else is owning the fact that they're also feeling it, owning responsibility for their own emotions, you then not only feel what they're feeling, and as a child you'll do it subconsciously because you're not yet developed enough in your emotional language and cognizance of your emotions. And so you will just feel what they're feeling, but you won't have the knowledge of it, the language for it. And if they're not taking responsibility, you end up taking responsibility for the unspoken emotions in your environment. Now, the effect that this has on you as a little child is very traumatizing. You might not even notice it as a child. You tend to notice it as you're growing up, where you feel burdened, where you're feeling all kinds of other feelings and thoughts that are they're not even yours. You will feel heavy. You will feel lethargic. You will have a loss of energy. You will have less and less inclination to be yourself and to be in your physical body. In other words, for you to be present and conscious with your full spirit in this body. Because as you have been a sponge and absorbed everybody else's thoughts and feelings, and then not had awareness brought to that, and then not having other people take responsibility for that, they stick with you, and you grow up believing that they're yours. And you might go, how did I get this messed up? And you, without realizing, will be feeling on behalf of all the other people around you, but they have not yet developed enough to know how to deal with their emotions, or how to take responsibility for them, how to communicate them, how to be conscious of them, and then how to, share it in a really healthy way, so that you understand, oh, that's my mum's emotion, or that's my dad's trauma, it's not mine. And many, many children, I would say the vast majority, if not all children, grow up into adults like you, like me, who are heavily burdened. And because we've not been validated, we don't then validate ourselves, and we still go on being a sponge, receiving everything around us, receiving everybody else's emotions. And it has this accumulative effect of basically filling us full of all this other stuff that's not ours, and it leaves less and less space for us. So we gradually tend to move our spirit out of our body as we become too full of everybody else, and there's not enough space for our own connection to who we are, and so that we can feel what we feel. Does that make sense? So a lot of people don't know if they feel if they're empathic, because they're so traumatized by this. They've got so, in some ways, kind of sick, literally almost to death, of other people's stuff and the responsibility that they bear with it, and don't even know that this is what they're doing because they haven't been validated. They just feel like checking out. And one way of, there's many ways of checking out, and the first one is to bring in the safety doors and clamp down and shut down and stop feeling and stop breathing. So a really good way to block your empathy and to block your feelings is just to stop breathing, or to breathe very shallowly and to not breathe lower down into the tummy, where the majority of all that emotional stuff happens, if not all of that emotional stuff happens. Let's take a breath. I wonder if this is resonating with you. Are you understanding? I'm sure you are. You're very intelligent people. You're probably very empathic people who have an awareness, is what I mean, of your empathy. Let me know if this is connecting with you and this is making sense to you. Because if you have a trauma around other people, like let's say your mother is a very emotional person and those emotions are absolutely overwhelming for you as a child because you're just a little kid, you don't know how to deal with it, you don't know how to help, you don't know how to fix it, you don't know how to make it better, you don't know how to communicate it, and then something happens where you just get shut down and traumatized, then that effectively locks your emotional development in at that age. That's just an example. And that locking in of trauma and being shut down emotionally in your emotional intelligence can happen quite a number of times throughout your childhood, so that you get to the point where you're, you know, you might be 15, you might be 16, you might be in teenage years and just feeling a bit numb, you know, or wanting to take drugs or smoke or drink or have sex or watch porn or shop or whatever it is, or party, or just get plugged into gaming or TVs because you just can't feel. And it's like you'll do things to try and help you feel alive, and you'll also do things to help you numb out because you're over empathizing with other people. Does that make sense? And then you grow up and you think, oh, okay, you know, that was just my teenage years, and you might be having all kinds of therapy, all kinds of stuff, and trying to work through your stuff. And most of them therapies all happen on an intellectual level. And unless you're able to go back and have an emotional conversation with yourself, and first, number one, validate that you feel all of this stuff and connect with those feelings, then those feelings are not going to go away because you're thinking about the feelings and intellectualizing those feelings. And many therapies, if not or most of them, will do exactly that. And so your emotional traumas, your emotional damage will not be healed. And what it takes is your own empathy. So we're going to come back to this about how to heal with empathy, okay? But we're going to just fast forward a little bit and go to those people that feel really overwhelmed by other people's emotions, and you know you're empathic. You recognize, I have empathy. But you're almost got so out of your body or so consumed in the drama and in the responsibility of other people's emotions, it's almost becomes your pastime, where you go, this is one option anyway for some people, and you have to let me know if you recognize this, where you go, I make other people's feelings my business, and I go around, because you're so full of other people's feelings because you've absorbed them and you feel responsible. And that's a way of gaining a sense of identity and of significance, and that you can contribute in some way, because you don't know how to clear those emotions in yourself. So you go around trying to help other people with their emotions and get involved in their feelings. And, you know, it looks like you're really trying to help and really trying to give. And I know you're going to be coming from that good place, coming from a good heart, and coming from a place of compassion because you want to help others. But the flip side of this is that you will end up feeling absolutely drained because all of your energy is going out to other people all the time. And what you're actually trying to do without realizing is help these other people all around you just so that you can feel better. You don't realize you're doing this most of the time, but this is actually what's happening, running in the background, is you need to feel okay about what you're feeling. And you can't fix it or you can't heal it because it feels like other people's stuff and you haven't recognized it fully for what it is. So you go around trying to help other people with their feelings, very well-meaning, very caring, but draining yourself completely. And again, feeling massively fatigued. These people, if this is you, you probably have incredible digestive issues going on. Overburdening. And if you really get to the extent of overgiving, you might develop some kind of chest complaint, some kind of heart complaint. For a lot of women, I notice, and I'm not giving a medical diagnosis, okay? I'm not a doctor, I'm not qualified to do this. I'm just saying what I've seen a lot of, and that's simply it, my personal opinion. I have seen a lot of women particularly who get breast cancer because they're overgiving, trying to help and serve everybody else with their feelings to make them feel better, becoming absolutely exhausted. And it's somehow a deflection without you realizing. You're not doing this consciously, but to deflect and somehow avoid actually putting your own awareness back into you and connecting with you and empathizing with yourself and healing yourself. Because we're so entrained to give and serve others and to do things for others, even to the point where we're on death's door, exhausted and drained and sick. And it takes that wake-up call to go, hello, where is your self-love right now? Are you willing, to let yourself get so sick, trying to help others so that they feel better, so that at the end of the day you can feel better about yourself and you feel like you can have more an emotional unburdening? Does this make sense? Let me know if this makes sense to you guys. Let me know if this is resonating for you and which one is mostly resonating for you. Which one does it sound like you? Or who do you know like this? Because it's so easy to think of somebody else that we know who does that. And when we're that person and somebody else is always trying to fix us, it can be a real, sometimes it doesn't feel so good. But we get very codependent in these relationships, trying to fix each other or trying to help each other or empathize with each other. And it kind of ends up just kind of going nowhere. It gets into a bit of a drama, even though we're really well-meaning. And we can get really stuck in these places. So let's take a breath again. Now, why is this so important that I'm sharing this? Why is this important to you? And you can even have a little breathe, put your hands on your body, hand on your heart, hand on your tummy, and just feel yourself. And maybe remember yourself as a little child, big or small, whatever age. And just be curious, wonder, was this you? Was this you able to feel the unspoken feelings in the room? Picking up on vibes, sensing things, maybe even seeing things or hearing things that didn't make any sense to you and weren't validated. And so you either kind of went out on a rebellion and somehow had to self-medicate for all the stuff you were feeling, or you closed down and got locked in and shut down and maybe went, a bit of a loner route really, and tried to stop feeling because it was overwhelming and painful. Or one of those things in between. Could be somewhere on a spectrum in between any of that. And only you know. Only you know if you feel emotionally burdened, or if you feel really clear and clean and completely in connection with your own emotions. Now, most of us are massively overburdened emotionally, and especially as we are all connected. And we will be empathizing and empathically absorbing all of the trauma, the tragedy, the suffering, the depression, the anxiety, the fear that's going on in the world right now. And there is a lot of it. You personally might be in a little space of, oh, I'm okay, I'm not in fear, or I'm not feeling traumatized. But if you just did a neighborhood sweep of what's around you in your immediate environment, or what's around you in your family environment, and you really went deep into what people are feeling, sometimes it's on the surface, sometimes it's really hidden behind the closed doors. And there's a lot of closed doors right now with the social distancing. There is a lot of emotional distress happening, people. The mental health issues are going off the scale. The anxiety is going off the scale. People checking out of their bodies and dying one way or another. Mostly, actually, the suicide rates are massively up. I'm not trying to depress you. I'm just saying there's a lot going on that doesn't feel so good. And just trying to keep focused and keep our heads above water of what does feel okay and what does feel safe does not diminish or take away what's under the surface, what we're trying to keep our heads above. It doesn't take all of that away, and we're still feeling it. And it's really, really vital and important that instead of being a victim of our empathy, in other words, we don't know how to cope, it's overwhelming, so you just kind of paddle above the surface, try and stay above it, be positive, be happy. That's all beautiful and good, but not to the point where you're really, really not self-caring and self-loving and acknowledging the elephant in the room, really. The elephant in your room is that deeper down, you may have feelings that don't feel like yours particularly, that you're feeling from other people, feeling the distress in the world, feeling other people's distress and trauma and anxiety. Let's breathe into that. Now, breathing is the key to feeling. If you stop breathing, you will literally stop feeling and you will literally stop being. So most of us only breathe very shallowly, just enough so that we exist, but not so much that we feel everything that's under the carpet. And I'm going to share with you right now, and actually my whole life changed when I really understood what I'm telling you today. I was 24 at the time when I realized how empathic I was, and how little I breathed, and how numbed out I was, and how checked out of my body I was, and how sick I was, and I had autoimmune deficiencies. I had so many things wrong with my body. I could barely eat, I couldn't barely sleep, I had cramps, I had kidney and liver, and all kinds of problems with my body. And I was incredibly depressed and incredibly suicidal because I was absolutely engulfed with everybody else's emotions, and I had no idea. I was super sensitive. Right? I couldn't drink alcohol, couldn't drink coffee, couldn't go near cups of tea even. I could eat so little. Now, I had this big realization when I was 24 that I was empathic. And one thing I started to do was, one, choose to love myself and choose to live. I chose that. And I had to learn, and it took me a long time because I didn't have anybody teaching me, but learn how to feel the uncomfortable feelings and stay somehow centered in it without controlling the emotions, because trying to control emotions is like trying to control the weather. Like, stop it. There are people out there controlling the weather, and it's having a terribly detrimental effect on human beings and all life on this planet. And controlling your emotions is like having the mini version of that. Do not try to, I really, really recommend, do not try and control your emotions by putting some, iron guards around them and being very masculine with it. I'm going to recommend that you surrender and you stop fighting it, that which you can't control. And you breathe deeply into your body. And you breathe deeply into all feelings, starting with one at a time that's on the surface for you right now, and just breathe deeply into it. And let yourself really feel it. Let your awareness drop down. Don't just stay up here with your control tower mind thinking that you're feeling something down here. You actually have to drop the awareness in. Surrender your mind. Allow the breath, because your breath is your ultimate teacher, your ultimate guide. It is, after all, the master of life itself and the giver of life itself. It's a very good guide, it's a very good teacher, it's my teacher. If you like, it's my guru. I listen to the breath. And your breath is your own guru, your own teacher, your own guide, personal to you. Your breath knows everything about you, and it knows everything that you need to do. It's your personal wisdom. And when you allow your breath to go into those feelings that you are less comfortable with or been avoiding, even if you think they're not yours, you still feel them, right? So unfortunately, if somebody's dumped it on you, it's yours to clean up. That's just the way it is. And you will get great power by taking responsibility for these emotions. All right? See them, instead of a curse, see them as a gift. Because they are there for you to practice your mastery of empathy and emotional connection with. You will get super sensitive and super, super powered by practicing feeling the emotions and breathing into it, and you use your hands and you connect to your body, wherever it is in your body that you feel it, and you have great compassion and kindness and empathy for your own feelings. Now, if you don't know what empathy is like, it's a bit like saying, oh, I feel you. And it's very common, it's not common, it's very similar to sympathy. So you know how you can really feel sympathetic for someone and say, oh, poor you. So you can actually even start like that. You can be like, oh, poor me. Oh, and most people don't like to do that. You're told not to feel sorry for yourself and chastised against it. But actually, I really encourage it. It's part of your self-care. It's a step. It's not the whole be-all and end-all. It's just a step to get there. And be like, oh, poor you, me, that you feel this, this, and this, whatever you're feeling. Breathe into it some more. And start to engage your compassion, which is also felt deep down in your tummy, in those soft, emotional, vulnerable centers inside of you. And be like, oh, I really feel you, me. And these words out loud are very powerful, because words create ripples and have vibration. And they're very healing to say, I feel you. I get you. I understand. And keep breathing into the feeling. Really validating yourself for once. Really giving yourself permission for once, and accept that you feel this stuff. Just say, okay, so I surrender. I'm just going to feel it. And you can bless yourself for feeling this. You can forgive yourself for feeling this. You can release yourself for feeling this. But those toxic or traumatic or disharmonious feelings will stay there for as long as they need to get fully validated. When you fully acknowledge and validate and recognize and feel those feelings, that's the beginning of, actually the beginning of the I Love You Me process. It's actually step 3 of the I Love You Me process to self-love and self-healing. But it's the beginning of an amazing journey for you to self-heal and to embody you. Because as you own that emotion, you own the space that that emotion is taken up in you. And you start to transform the energy just simply by being kind and empathic and being with that emotion. It's no longer toxic and traumatic and stuck. It's changed because of your words, because of your breath, because of your compassion coming in. It changes the whole state. Your inner environment starts to transform. And you can start to get more comfortable by moving back into your body and into all of the spaces that all of these emotions have taken up. Owning them, loving them, transforming them, healing them, releasing them. And I'm not going to go through all of the 7 steps to transformational self-love right now, but it's all available on my website if you want to go and have a look. Plenty of things to help you there. But just having the compassion to empathize with yourself is so crucial. It's one of your superpowers. And as you get more and more familiar with empathizing with you, more comfortable with feeling the emotions, you realize that they're not there to be controlled or blocked out or moved through and just, slicing it with a knife almost to just get through it. That actually in the feeling of those emotions, you reclaim that inner child that was burdened. You reclaim parts of your soul that have been burdened. You reclaim parts of your body that have been getting polluted by these toxic and let's say negative or harmful or disharmonious emotions that have been massively impacting your cellular physical health, because your cells are mostly water. And if the water in your body is saying, I'm not happy, I'm depressed, guess what's going to happen to your cells? Your cells are going to feel depressed. They're going to work less. You will get sick. And the moment you start to validate and recognize and have compassion for your depression, it's no longer depressed. It's been seen, it's been felt, it's been heard, it's been connected with. There's some energy moving back in there. That energy will translate into your cellular physicality. And you will transform your physical health and your emotional health, and you will reclaim yourself. And as you reclaim yourself, there's more room for your spirit to anchor down into the body. The more of your emotional and physical self you reclaim, of that inner child, bringing it back to compassion, back to love, back to being validated and held and appreciated, really appreciated. You are transforming the energy and you are reclaiming you, such that your spirit can move back in and land in deeper and deeper and deeper into your body until you anchor. And that is an incredible journey. That's a hero's journey to do that. And meanwhile, let me know if this is resonating. Let me know if this is resonating. I'm going to come back to your comments afterwards and see what you're all saying about this. And meanwhile, as you feel you, because anything, by the way, this is a really, really powerful point to remember about life generally and energies generally, that if you have an unhealed emotion in you, let's say fear of being judged, right? And you've got this anxiety and this fear of being judged. When you are around somebody else who's afraid of being judged, your energy bodies and your emotional bodies will be vibrating together. You will be a vibrational match to one another, and you will start to magnetize to one another. Like attracts like. And then you might be saying, well, I see this person is afraid of being judged. And you might not realize that it's your fear because you think it's their fear, because you've attracted them into your world. You've attracted them into your world because it's yours. All right? It's that funny saying, if you spot it, you've got it. It's an interesting, that's a whole another video to discuss that, because people get a little bit confused with that as well. But let's say we bring it into the context of the wider world right now, and we have people freaking out left, right, and center, and you're feeling all of that, and you might not even notice how much of it you're feeling. If you're feeling it yourself, then you will be, everything that you're feeling from other people around you is going to feel more intense, more magnified. So the more you can neutralize or bring into harmony, let's say, your emotional baggage or what's been stored in your sponge, and you bring more harmony to that, you are no longer a vibrational match. You're vibrating in harmony, whereas all of this is vibrating out of harmony. So you can still feel it, but you won't be triggered by it. It won't trigger you in a way where you're too in it to help yourself, or you're too in it to help anybody else, which is the paralysis that many human beings are finding themselves in right now. They're so triggered by what they're seeing and hearing and feeling, they just don't know how to respond. It's immobilizing, because you get stuck right back into that, traumatized inner child and the helpless adult that has grown up around that inner child. So it is absolutely crucial, vital, most important work for you, my beautiful friend, to really learn to bring your awareness back inside of you. Use all the tools in the bag, all the things that you use, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, sensing, holding, everything, and empathize. Hold yourself with whatever you're feeling. Be kind, be loving, let it all voice out, have a conversation. Acknowledge and validate yourself for what you're feeling. Give it space to breathe. Let it come out. Begin to reclaim you, heal you. And as you do so, you will become more empowered. You'll become more mastered in your own emotions, because these emotions are a gauge. They're like a compass. They're an intelligence center. They're a superpower. Emotions are an integral, vital part of being a human being. And if you take away your emotions, you may as well be a robot. You may as well just go into AI. Your emotions are what make you human, one of the very crucial things that make you a human being. So it's not there to be ignored and denied and try to be controlled. It's there to be received as a gift, understood, calibrated to, and mastered, honed, and then used, because how you use this as a superpower as a clear, more clear channel, because you're so untriggered now, you're so unburdened, that you can actively choose to empathize with what's around you, to tune in and feel it. Breathe into it. Take it in, breathe it, feel it. And a little bit like pouring dirty water through a filter, so that through the filtration process it comes out clean. You can breathe in and receive that contaminated emotional stuff that's there. It's very tangible. Breathe it in, receive it, have this, use the same tools that you use to empathize with yourself. Have empathy, have kindness, have compassion, have that transformative I love you, me, self-love, healing conversation. And then the energy that runs out through that or through you is like the crystal clear, pure water. And it's like filtering the emotional water of humanity through your beautiful body, through your beautiful tools, your consciousness, your kindness, your empathy, your compassion, your awareness, your love. These are filters for all of the pain of humanity that you can pour through your own vessel by choice when you're ready, when you feel strong, and purify it and put it back out into Mother Nature, put it back out into the world, give it back to human beings, having empathy and kindness and compassion for what everyone's going through. And you will be a transmuter on this planet that is very much needed. So that's my message for you today. How does that sit with you? How do you feel that? It's got dark actually whilst I've been sharing this with you. Let me hear what you've got to say. Ricky, are those your wings, you're asking? These are the I love you me wings. I'm just going to show you right here if you can see them. This is my logo for the I love you me method, which is a process, and it's a spiritual path to awakening and self-realization and a whole bunch of things. It's very, very beautiful and profound. And this is the flower of life, and it has the 7 circles. It has the 6 circles of the seed of life, and it has the circle in the center that holds it all together. This represents obviously the template, the blueprint from which all of nature, all life everywhere is created from. It's the structure. It's like the masculine within nature. That is the structure for everything to grow on, including every cell in your body and every part of you. And it very beautifully demonstrates the 7 steps to transformational self-love of the I love you me method. And the circle in the center, can you see the circle in the center? That represents your breath. That's you connecting to your breath and receiving, coming back to that innocent you that learned, that never had to learn, that knew unconditionally how to receive life and how to receive breath. That's who you are, that unconditionally receiving, loving being that you were in that very first moment when you were born, and you are still that being. Every single one of us is still that being. That is our blueprint. That is who we are. And when we can consciously come back with our wisdom, with our integrity intact, with our learning, we can come back to that place of innocence, of breath connection, of receiving, and receive the knowledge of who we are, and actually come back to that original divine template of who we are, and actually completely evolve and manifest our fullest potential as a divine human being on this planet. That's what that's about in a symbol. And of course, it's all encapsulated in the heart, because the heart is, again, it's the doorway to source. It's your source self source, who you are. And when you practice self-love and I love you me, you sprout wings. You sprout wings metaphorically, metaphysically, and maybe even physically. So they're not my wings, they're all of ours. This represents the heart of every single human being and our potential when we use this beautiful, simple I love you me method. And just to let you know, yes, I sculpted it, But I didn't create it alone. It was very much a gift from Source and a gift from Archangel Michael, and it's their gift, it's our gift to humanity, and it's there to empower you and to free you and to really bring you home to who you are. But anyway, inside of that, it's a long answer to that beautiful question. Thank you for the question, darling. Whether or not you get into that, that's your choice. But I really hope that, I trust actually, that you take this message about empathy and you take it for yourself, and please share it. Please share this message. If you think it's important to connect to who you really are and connect to empathy and use it for yourself and for others and to help heal the world right now, please go ahead. Please go ahead and share this video with as many people as you can, and start practicing and start using it. And Glenda, hello lovely, I have been in a terrible funk this weekend and have tried to be loving to my little me. Oh, bless you. All you have to do is say, hello little me. I feel you. And you can just simmer and bathe in just feeling the terrible funk that you're in and being fully present with it. You know, there are other steps beyond that, but even if you just get to there and just have compassion for you, that's really beautiful. That's your conversation starter. And then when you feel a little bit, you know, more, I don't know, when you decide that you can love yourself a little bit more and put a bit more effort in, then you can do the rest. But just holding yourself in whatever you feel is really, really important. And Tina's saying, yes, I felt this way. I had no problems of my own, but I was still disturbed within. And that's because you were feeling everybody else, Tina, right? Because you're a very, very beautiful, shiny little being. And then you did the I love you me and you felt better. Yes, you did. And I've been very privileged to see that transformation in you. Glenda, yeah, these are all our wings, definitely. What else? Has any of this been resonating? For some reason I can only see 4 comments at a time. I don't know why I can only see those 4. I'm going to have to put something, put up a comment so I can see it come up to the top. Keep breathing, everybody. Breathing is so crucial to life, and people are not doing enough of it. And in fact, there's been a mass propaganda campaign to limit people's breathing so that people will switch off from feeling, switch off from their consciousness, switch off from their compassion and their hearts, and get sick actually, because if you don't breathe, you'll get very, very sick very quickly, and you will also get mentally ill very quickly from not breathing, because your brain will go into hyper anxiety alert. Your body will start producing adrenaline in massive amounts because your brain is trying to tell you, I'm not getting enough oxygen and it's not okay and there's a problem. And then you wonder why you're feeling so anxious. You need to breathe. I don't know if you all can still hear me, but I've had a sign that come up saying, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video and my screen has gone black. So it seems that it may have been stopped. That's interesting, just as I was talking about breathing. Anyway, if you can still hear me, or if this manages to come back on and it's still being recorded, then for goodness sake, for your sake, for humanity's sake, for your children's sake, breathe into everything. Reawaken. You need a lot of oxygen right now in your brains and in your heart and in your body, and you need to come alive fully and completely and be the super beautiful, divine, angelic, powerful being that you are on this planet right now. So I love you. I hope you can still hear me. I hope this is still being recorded. I love you. You are love, and you are loved more than you know. So blessings and peace, everybody, and look after those beautiful bodies of yours. Take care.